All right. The exhibit title is Course of Action, a Radical Tack for Suburban Tracts. So it's going to portray something called ungardened. And we're going to depict or demonstrate and illustrate the transition of a suburban landscape from a very manicured landscape that's resource intensive to something that's less resource intensive and welcomes habitat and maybe a little more resilient than suburban landscapes are today.
Well, this year's exhibit is based upon the idea of ungardening. So we're trying to encourage people to not be so obsessed with ornamental, horticultural type practices in which we're using a lot of chemicals and maintenance and expensive fuels and stuff like that to do that, but we're trying to go back to our roots as a more environmentally responsible way of gardening. And we're providing at the same time habitat for animals that we share this environment with, whether it's earthworms or butterflies or birds, all the other things that are within our community that we like to enjoy and protect, and we want to be more sustainable that way. Well, we love the walkthrough because it gives people the chance to get off the show floor and to sort of spend time closer to the plants, closer to the things that make our exhibit interesting, whether it be a piece of sculpture or water, all those things. And getting off the show floor for just a few minutes and bringing people in helps them to do that. It's something that we've always been committed to, at least for about the last 12 years. And this year, we've noticed every year more and more people start to do the walkthroughs, and this year's become mandatory for everybody in the educational exhibit to have a walkthrough. So it's kind of we've had a little influence on that, I think, and it's good to get people more in tune with what's going on and to get closer to nature.
The goal of the exhibit is to educate people about some of the negative actions, behaviors, and consequences of suburban landscapes, and hopefully to get them to change their own behaviors or maybe some of their neighbors and influence others to do something different and better for not only the environment, for themselves and future generations.
The goal of the exhibit this year, I would say, is to help educate people on how to make environmentally responsible choices for their own backyard. I feel like we're at a point in time where people want to help with the climate crisis but don't really know how to, and I think that the exhibit will be a great resource for everyday people that aren't necessarily gardeners or horticulturalists or landscape architects to make some changes in their own backyard. So I am part of the prospectors group, so the entire exhibit is divided into two sections, and I'm the prospectors, and my part is the wetland that is actually a natural pool. A natural pool is a European concept that has just recently kind of been introduced to the United States, but the concept essentially is, instead of a chemical-filled pool, it's a pool that's dedicated to different types of plants, and not only is it a space for humans, but also other types of species and other forms of biodiversity.
I'm working on the half of the exhibit that is the pathway and the corner woodlands and the hedgerow. I designed the first corner woodland on your right as you walk into the exhibit, and in the center of that woodland there will be a stack of logs that are inoculated with mushrooms. Well, mushroom spawn. So essentially it's showing how to grow mushrooms in your own yard on logs. As a student, I think it's one of the most physically rewarding and the most validating experience to be able to build something with your hands, to learn how to use tools, and then have something that it's like 100,000 people go through this exhibit. So I think that's a very rewarding and both humbling and gratifying experience.
I've I think huge benefits for this program. I think that this year is the one that everyone looks forward to, all the landscape architecture students. And one of the things that I benefit from is getting to familiarize myself with the tools and the different materials, because that's one thing, we talk about a lot in concept, but actually being able to get our hands dirty and utilize the tools and machinery that we eventually may come into contact with later in our careers.